So here we are at Camera Centre UK. This is the Cardiff store. I'm with Julian Hollingshead.
Yep, that's right.
And we are going to be trying out some of the cameras today. So there is the S5 Mark II.
Yep.
And
we've got the BS1H and we've got the GH6.
GH6.
Yep.
So this is going to be really interesting from my perspective because I've been a Sony shooter for a little while, but I've always admired the pedigree of Lumix products when it comes to the quality of footage you get out of them. Yeah. And of course my background is in a little bit of the wedding environment, and the GH5 in particular did incredibly well back in the day when it came to the actual GH, the GH5 series, and then moving into the GH6. So
Absolutely.
kind of,
No, GH6 is the latest sort of update to the GH5 that we had previously. So the GH5, we also launched the GH5 Mark II. So now we've got two cameras offering slightly different specs in the range, but yeah, GH6 will shoot up to 5.8K ProRes 422 HQ internally. So yeah.
Those are the specs that we like to hear. And then of course you've got the S5 Mark II, which is kind of a game changer for Lumix, I believe, because you've got a long line of people hitting you for the autofocus in particular.
Sure.
But the S5 Mark II, I think, is this kind of new age of where you're looking to go with your future products in the future, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the first camera with a phase hybrid AF system. So this uses phase detect, but it also uses the contrast detect focusing that we've had previously as well. So it's a hybrid system which uses both, got a combination of both, because both have got benefits basically. So yeah.
So we were talking before when it comes to the full frame lenses that they're all the same size and designed around keeping it still light, even though it's a 35mm frame, like we discussed earlier. But also kind of keeping them compact, and when f1.8 is actually good enough for your day-to-day kind of shoot, kind of like carry?
Yeah, so we do a range of 5 different lenses. So we do an 18, 24, 35, 50 and an 85 1.8. Now, the key point with those lenses, they are all the same shape and size and same filter. So first of all, you've got the same filter thread. You don't have to be buying multiple filters in different sizes and things like that, but also they're the same shape and size and the same center of gravity. So when you're balancing on a gimbal, for example, you can start swapping between lenses without having to rebalance each time. So yeah, we offer quite a wide range of lenses, as you say, from the range which is lightweight and things like that. But then we also do offer 24-70 2.8s and 70-200 2.8s and things like that. So yeah.
I mean, like, you've always got to have like a holy trinity of lenses.
Yeah, sure.
But like, again, kind of like hitting on that point that you design them because you've got to be able to change between the lenses.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about a videographer and sort of like changing out lenses on gimbals and stuff like that for all of your shoots.
Yeah.
It allows you to do that quickly and efficiently. And when it comes to like weddings, corporate setting, and a lot of other people, that's going to be incredibly important.
Yeah,
really,
absolutely.
Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so all of those settings where you need to change things really quickly, you've got a set of lenses which are effectively exactly the same. So again, if you're starting to use rigs and things like that, anything where, I don't know, some people might be using, maybe they'll go follow focus and things like that, you don't need to start changing all of these bits every time as you change between lenses. And you're still getting a prime lens, 1.8 is still a very fast lens, faster than zooms will be, so you're still getting a fast lens, but they're not crazy money.
It's not crazy money.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it at the end of the day, because this comes in at 1999, is it?
Yeah, for the body. Yeah,
just for the body.
On the S5 too. Yeah.
I mean, which is excellent. When you're talking about people that are looking to just start off and looking to get a full frame body, that is kind of like a really good price to start off with, especially with the specs.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the specs. I mean, you've got 6K in camera shooting. You've got unlimited shooting, so it's got a built-in fan, but the fan is under the prism on the top there. I was going to say pentaprism, but obviously it's mirrorless. It doesn't have one of those. But it's built in there, so it doesn't add any depth to it. You've got active IS stabilization, so when you're shooting, it removes that kind of the bounce that you get in the background. You've got a really solid camera for not much money.
Not much money.
Yeah.
And because I mentioned this in the first look, because a big thing that's important as well for people that are just starting out is not necessarily needing to buy other forms of gear. So the image stabilization on a camera is important for people that want to do handheld shooting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things you've got to admit that Lumix does excel at in the industry. It always has, from the GH5, GH6, and all across the line, is the image stabilization, and it's nice to see that continue with this
Absolutely.
camera.
And just to give an idea, I mean, the stabilization still has the same amount of stops. It's 6.5 stops like the S5 before it, but it's the algorithm in the background that processes that movement. So when you're hand holding it and you're walking and you kind of get that natural sort of bounce that occurs, it's programmed and tailored to remove that. So it's, as a figure, is in that situation 200% better than the S5, which was already a really solid camera for stabilization.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Where do you reckon is going to be the next kind of like bit that Lumix pushes for, perhaps the next camera?
So we've already said we'll, in terms of the phase detect based systems, that will be coming out on future cameras. I don't know what those cameras are, I've no idea what's coming out in the future, but we'd always just look to grow the spec, and we try and pack as much into these cameras as we can to offer people as much as possible in video and photographic specs. You know, we're talking about video, but these are hybrid cameras that do both. So yeah, we will always look to pack as much in as we can. But we do have in May coming out the S5 IIX, which is the more video focus side for the S5. So that will offer all eye codecs. That will offer up to 800 megabits per second recording. You've got external USB recording to an SSD drive that will do ProRes as well. So you've got ProRes to the external drive.
That's pretty excellent.
And it's £300 more. And also, most importantly, it's an all blacked out design, so it looks really cool.
I mean, that's the main thing.
That's the main thing. Right?
I must admit, one of the main reasons I got an FX6 was because it had like that gunmetal grey. I mean,
there you go, you can swap it for this now.
It's exactly. You can just, I'm not going to go too far into that. You're right, we have talked a little bit too much about video.
No, I wasn't.
I mean, it's one of the things. Like Lumix has been kind of directed at videographers and everything like that for a little while now. Yeah. So for the photo side of stuff, because there is actually a large amount of users that use the Lumix series for nature photography, going out and about and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And so like photo is an important part of like Lumix's identity, and
Yep, they are. We are imaging, cameras, and they are hybrid cameras. So they shoot stills and they shoot video. And yeah, we've kind of concentrated on video up to this point, but we've got a very large contingent and group of people that shoot predominantly stills, of which these cameras will do all of that. Going back to the Micro Four Thirds systems, those are particularly suited to nature or wildlife photography because of the focal lengths you can get without increasing those massive lenses that you can get in full frame. Because it's a smaller sensor, the image circle of the lens is smaller, and therefore the lens can be smaller. So you've got an equivalent, a 200mm lens in a Micro Four Thirds is, this big, and a 400mm in 35mm is, X big. So there's some big benefits there to photography as well. Absolutely.
Don't know about you, but I could talk about cameras all day.
Absolutely.
How about we get out and shoot some stuff, shoot stuff in around Cardiff, go up near the castle and stuff like that. Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. See you in a bit. Okay, so we are now outside of Cardiff Market. Here it is. We're going to be testing out the autofocus system. So this is one of the biggest parts when it comes to the new S5 cameras, is the fact that they've introduced a new phase detect autofocus, which is going to vastly improve the autofocus system. I've mentioned it in my review, but today we've got Julian. He's going to shoot me walking towards him, and we're going to test out the autofocus system to see what it's like. And at the end of the day, let's give it a go. So the thing to check when we're moving forward is that the autofocus is tracking on me correctly and is making sure that I'm always going to be in focus. And it's something that is very important for videographers when they're actually shooting. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be having a little bit of fun with this Arizona cocktail juice. It's not got alcohol in it, so just to say it's not got alcohol in it. But we're going to be throwing this about and seeing if we can get some cool shots with the old S5. So I'm going to have a little bit of a play with the camera now. I'm going to be testing out mainly the image stabilization. The stabilization is an incredibly important part to camera for creatives. It allows photographers to be able to get better photos in lower light conditions, but also allows videographers to get gimbal-like movement without the need of a gimbal. So for people starting out, this is incredible. So at the moment I'm going to be shooting this on a 50mm, which is this is 4K 25, yeah?
Yeah.
It's at 4K 25, so we haven't got that, the backup of having a 60 frame a second shot. So this is again full frame on the sensor, 4K 25 frames per second, and seeing how stable the actual camera is. So this was like, this shot that I was playing right there is shot at a relatively fast pace. So it's faster than I perhaps like move at with a gimbal or just like a camera handheld. But the shot is actually incredibly usable. If you had a little bit of water stabilization maybe, or a little bit of stabilization, and then some motion blur, you can actually imagine it kind of be used as like a hyperlapse kind of shot. Again, very impressed. I wasn't actually making sure it's as stable as possible whilst I was moving, but really do quite like that shot. Okay, so I was very impressed with the stabilization on the actual camera itself. So what I'm going to try and do is do the rest of this vlog thing, on the S5 Mark II, so you'll be able to get to see the shots, just to kind of like test, just want to have some fun basically. But next shot you're going to see is going to be from the S5 Mark II. So here we go. Wow, look at that! It's massive! This is the 14-28mm lens. Again, similar size to the 50mm and all the other bits and pieces, but it's really good. I'm liking it. Yeah, a little bit, getting a bit used to the camera now anyway. So this is using the stabilization of the actual sensor itself. And as you can tell, I can just like walk about in circles and it is incredibly smooth. And look at that, it's tracking my face pretty damn well. Even to here, this is excellent. So for even vlogging and doing like BTS on like big shoots, main camera as well, this is a great camera for people that just want to start out. I know I keep saying this kind of stuff, I just like doing it, it's great. Look at that, look how stable it is. Alright, so you're gonna get the thing and then flip it like that and put it back in your hand, okay?
Okay.
And I am, as the amazing cameraman that I am, gonna try and track it. So today's just not working with me. Whenever we start recording, another thing goes off. So first it was the bells, now it's some sort of pile driver. Yeah. Okay, so we are now switching over to the good old box camera. How's it looking?
Well, yeah, this is our BS1H. So this is our full frame box camera. So we do two. We do the BS1H and we do the BGH1. So BGH1 is our micro four thirds based, but this is our full frame version, the BS1H. But yeah, these are quite flexible. You can rig them how you want, but you can also use them for production-based things, so you don't have to rig them all out like this. You can control 12 of them over the same network as well if you want to. We've got SDI out, we've got Genlock, we've got timecode, we've got HDMI as well. So yeah, very flexible camera, and most importantly, both the box cameras are Netflix approved. Yeah, basically this is an S1H. Inside, obviously the camera itself is different, but the main point that this adds, as I said before, is that SDI and the ability to Genlock and timecode as well in the camera. So same camera, different use.
So it feels really nice in your hands, and when you're talking about like a really small kind of setup to do shooting with, like these kind of box cameras are incredibly valuable, because we started, like my company outside of Camera Centre has started doing some work with some car dealership with like high-end sports cars. So having the ability to do interviews in the car without, you know, rolling about when, you know, we're down the Nürburgring or something like that, you know, it's really cool for the idea to be able to rig these up into like different situations. And because of the size, because of how small it is, again, you're talking about a really small profile. So if you're looking to externally power this, again, this can fit in pretty much any position that you want. So if you do a lot of run and gun stuff in some situations where you've not got much room to play with, these cameras are excellent, especially because you can actually rig the monitor elsewhere, so you can literally just have a torn down camera do everything that you need it to do. This style of camera, the box cameras, has become popular. So you've got the Red Komodo, you've got Z-Cam as well, that are producing some really interesting pieces of technology. But Panasonic, this is actually a really good size. I mean, This is a really nice setup, and again, when it comes to this setup as well, is you got the big batteries as well. So when you are doing run and gun, you don't want to be constantly changing your batteries over again and again and again. And within this form factor, you have a really good camera that can cover pretty much anything you want. Really light as well, and really quite powerful. So yeah. I do really quite like Cardiff. There's a lot of different places in and about. It's loud.
GH6. So this is really our sort of real powerhouse of a camera, this one. So this will shoot up to 5.8K ProRes 422 HQ internally. So that's a 1500 megabit codec, which it will shoot internally in the camera itself. We've got built-in fans, so we've got unlimited recording, even up to 40 degrees ambient temperature, so we test our cameras really hard. We consider them they're professional cameras. They should work in a professional environment. We've also got fully articulating screen, of which you can also tilt. So the key bit there being, if you've got this camera rigged and you've got cables coming out the side of the camera, you've still got ability to move the screen and view that even in a full cage setup as well. So yeah, we've got micro four thirds based system. So I've got a bit of a lovely lens on the front of this. So this is our Leica 12mm f1.4 lens on the front of this. But yeah, the lenses are a lot smaller because, as we said before, that image circle is so much smaller that you don't have to have the length and size of the lens to cover that image circle. So it's very practical, especially for if you're carrying multiple cameras, multiple lenses around with you. They're a lot smaller, a lot lighter. And also if you're doing wildlife or you're doing nature photography, big lenses are a lot smaller on a micro four thirds system. But yeah,
another thing when it comes to like big lenses on the micro four thirds system is you get a lot more range than what you've actually got on a full frame system. So for example, when you're shooting like a 100 to 400, what you got there is actually a 200 to 800, which is a lot more expensive on the full frame cameras.
Absolutely.
Can I have a play then?
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah. Really, what today is about is Stuart gets to play with a bunch of toys. The S5 Mark II does do 6K internal, but does it do ProRes and have that incredible color correction capability that you'll have out of the files that you get out here. Different horses, different courses, but it's something to consider, especially when you're looking to change between like different camera setups. Because one thing I would say which people will be thinking about right now is if they have a GH5, do they go for a GH6 or do they go for an S5 Mark II? And that is something that you probably have to come up to work out by yourself, do some research. But if I'm honest, I'd probably have the S5 Mark II. I love it. I'm a full frame. I'm one of those guys that thinks full frame's everything. But this is an incredibly capable camera still. And if you are looking for the bit depth, the quality out of your image, this still does beat the S5 Mark II. Now, when it comes to Lumix cameras, they have an incredible pedigree. They're considered kind of like, for me anyway, they're considered amongst some of the greatest cameras to be released because they've changed the industry in some way. So you have the 5D Mark II, made video possible for people that didn't have loads of money, like being actual videographers. Then you had the GH5, changed the industry, got people interested in using micro four thirds for video, for weddings and all this, and giving great image quality. Like, it almost defined the market for 4K for a very long time. Then you had the A7S2, no, the A7S1, outstanding low light performance. Then you got the S5 Mark II, the BS1H, and you've got a load of cameras there that are then Netflix capable, used in industry across the board, and able to give you, the creative, as much possibilities. At the end of the day, that's most important, most possibilities when it comes to your creative method. And that's probably the best place to leave it. My name's Stuart. Have a good day. Please like, follow and subscribe to see more. And yeah, I don't know how to finish that. It's good. It's been a good day, hasn't it, Julian?
Yes.
Yeah, you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, always good to get out and shoot. Absolutely.
Yeah, good to shoot.
I don't don't do enough of it, so yeah, it's good.
It's
to do
been
it.
dangerous because you've been tempting me.
Yeah, that's my
And
job.
the trouble is, I'm really bad when it comes to temptation. Ooh, spicy.